Hey guys, this is Jeff Stanek with Figured Out Baseball. We've got a great Figured Out Baseball podcast today that's a little bit different than a lot of our podcasts. Typically, we're bringing on either college baseball coaches or pro coaches that are on the field with players. Today, it's a little bit different because we're going to talk about the nutrition side of things, which I think is often overlooked at youth levels, and particularly whether it's high school or college. There's out of all the colleges in the country, only a small percentage of them have a nutritionist or a dietitian. So we've got someone in here today that I think is going to be great. Is going to give us a lot of great information. We're being joined by Christina Koon today. She is the nutrition coordinator with the Boston Red Sox. She has shot some videos for Figured Out Baseball before, so if you haven't seen her videos, I recommend you check them out on our YouTube channel. She shot a lot of great stuff. I think that can help you with whatever your goals are, whatever your questions might be. But this podcast today is in our series that we call the Real Dirt podcasts. We call them the Real Dirt because we get our hands dirty with one particular topic, and we spend the entirety of the podcast talking about one topic, and hopefully answer any questions you might have on that. Today, we're talking specifically about energy drinks and the place of energy drinks in college and high school baseball. And the reason we're talking about it is because the last college where I coached, Lander University, I took a hiatus from college baseball for a while, jumped back into college baseball, and it was kind of shocking to me that it seemed like nearly every player on the team drank an energy drink before every practice. They had them for their games. On road trips, you stop at a gas station before you get to your destination, and they're all going in there to buy their Ghost or their Red Bull or their Celsius or whatever it may be. So we want to kind of talk about that today on this podcast. So Christina, first of all, I just want to thank you personally for coming on here. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Jeff, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about this topic.
I had never drank a Ghost before, but when I got to Lander, of course, I was peer pressured into trying some. And just like a Red Bull, it gives you a little boost when you first take it, but there's a lot of that. I'm sure it's not the best thing nutritionally for guys. And I kind of honestly at some point worried about guys kind of almost relying on that before
Mhm.
the game to kind of, and I'm thinking part of me is thinking like you guys are 20 years old, like you should be able to come up with enough energy and get pumped up enough for this game without this. But they drank it nonetheless. But Christina, I
You
want to
think?
ask you just from the nutritional side of things.
Yeah.
What is your initial reaction to knowing that guys are doing this? And you probably get that too, I'm sure, with guys that you work with in the minor leagues. Maybe they come from college baseball or even straight from high school, and this is
Mhm.
part of their habit. So first
Yeah.
of all, what is just your initial reaction to guys drinking an energy drink before practices and games?
Yeah. Well, I think that the energy drinks, just in the title alone, is misleading, right? So we assume energy drinks are going to give us energy, which we know that they're not. It's just going to be like a masking agent, stimulating our nervous system, and we're running off of that stimulant. We only know that carbohydrates or macronutrients give us energy, and most of those are going to be coming from carbs. But we're seeing high numbers from high school, college, and even up and increasing the amount of energy drinks they're consuming. And it's just putting on this energy or this energy drink band-aid. But I think the thing that's more scary about it is that most people, especially young kids, the way that they're advertised to them with, bright colors, cool names, fun flavors, whatever that may be. And I also too think of like, you're 21 years old or you're still in high school. Like I would kill to have that kind of energy waking up in the morning. Um, but they're using that and it's almost become like a way for them to, I know a lot of them are getting brand deals that way with like Celsius or Lonnie New, which is also concerning, but it takes away from the fact that these are supplements. And so back from when I was at Oregon State to when I was at Clemson, I have a pretty tough stance on when it comes to energy drinks in the dugout. All of my players got to know that's about me pretty from day one. And I'm happy to report that after, I think, like one season with Clemson, we got rid of Bang, Celsius, and Reign completely out of the dugout. And if they ever were found in the clubhouse at all, they knew I was pouring those out. So they learned very quickly that we were going to treat those like we're going to treat those like supplements, and we're going to hold the college athletes and the high school athletes to the same standard I would hold my professional baseball athletes to. If they really want to be professional baseball athletes, we're going to start holding you to the same standards as those professional baseball athletes. And for that to happen, they have to only consume supplements that are NSF certified. And all of our energy drinks that you see on the market, Ghost, Bang, Rain, all of those are supplements. They are pre-workout powders, just like Woke AF or C4, but just in a ready-to-drink can, which makes it more convenient, also increasing the consumption of them. So we really need to start changing the way we're looking at energy drinks, especially in these cases with young athletes as they're still developing and still growing, and see if there's really just masking the actual problem that they're probably not fueling enough.
So as Christina mentioned before she joined up with the Red Sox, she was the director of sports nutrition at several really big name colleges, including Illinois, Oregon State, Clemson. So she's got a great background in that at the college level as well, and has dealt with college athletes there. So Christina, just a kind of a question at the top of my head is there an actual danger for college or any athlete of any age? Is there an actual danger to drinking energy drinks, or is it just something that is kind of frowned upon because it's sort of uh, gives you a false sense,
Processed food.
or yeah, it's because it's processed? I mean, what is your biggest reason for being against energy drinks in the dugout?
Well, I want to separate energy drinks from caffeine specifically because we know from the research that caffeine is one of the best performance enhancing supplements that we can take, right? If it's dosed appropriately, if it's from a safe source that we know that the manufacturer's been tested, like we have seen positive improvements in performance, right? So I don't want to take away that saying that energy drinks and caffeine are not important for performance when we have shown that they have. The issue that I think is the most concerning is the energy drinks in the supplement industry. We're seeing more and more misleading labels. And I think one of the ones goes back to a study 2013. So it was a little bit ago, but we've had more and more studies come out testing the ingredient labels for popular supplements over the counter that anyone can get at a gas station, at a Walmart, or wherever it may be. And we're finding that like 75 to 80% of those supplements labels are incorrect. So they're either saying ingredients are in the product that are not detectable when they do the testing, or they're having hidden products put into it. So let's say that they don't even label that there's caffeine anywhere on the supplement label. Well, we actually did a caffeine study, like I mentioned, back to 2013, where only 6 out of 20 ingredients listed that they didn't have any caffeine in their products at all, but they actually had caffeine for anywhere between 75 and 300 milligrams of caffeine in that product, and they're not labeling it. Just in the last year alone, I'm going to double check, but Bang, Rain, Prime Hydration, Energy, or Prime Energy, Ghost, and Alani Nu have all been recalled or had lawsuits over this mislabeling on supplements. And that's just energy drinks alone. So you kind of think about like, what's the cause for this? Like what really is the variation of caffeine in there? And the thing is if it's not NSF certified, we don't know. So when you have a 16-year-old consuming energy drinks day after day after day, and even if it says it has like 100 milligrams or 200 milligrams of caffeine, we're finding that when they actually test the product, that those caffeine ranges are widely inaccurate or not accurate at all. I think only like 20 to 30% of them are even coming within 10% of the range that they're declaring on the label. Yeah. And yes, and so you worry about cross-contamination, you worry about, banned substances possibly being in there. And that's why it's definitely worth it paying for the NSF certified energy drinks or supplement products, because they're not only testing to make sure that what they're claiming is on their label is actually in the product at the exact amounts for which they are saying is in it. But they're also testing for cross-contamination of banned substance for the MLB, for WADA, for other professional sports industries, but they're also checking the manufacturers as well to making sure that the manufacturer of these products are being held liable and like basically making sure that their products are safe and effective. And the reason why we're seeing this big issue in products and major energy drink like companies mislabeling their products is because there is no FDA pre-market approval for these products. So the wellness industry, I think, is at like $1.8 trillion. Dietary supplements itself is at like $54 billion with a B, just dietary supplements in the United States alone. And the FDA is not pre-regulating what's going out there. They're only doing post-market approvals or post-market claims. So if someone makes a claim saying like, I don't think that this label is correct, that is the only way the FDA is investigating it. And most of that is because they want to, it's under DS, I think DSHEA of 1994. Basically, our Drug and Health Administration we're running under the 1994 Act, which is trying to promote supplements to hopefully increasing wellness in the United States, but it's not necessarily working. And so all this wellness industry, especially TikTok, social media, these influencers are putting out all of their own supplements, their own energy drink. I think that's like where Lonnie New came from, Celsius came from, and you're running into all these risks and they're putting out these products to make more money, but they're misleading the consumer by mislabeling their products.
If you like what you're hearing on Figured Out Baseball, I hope you'll check out our YouTube channel if you haven't before, if you're watching this on social media. And also to help keep this resource free, check out the comments below where you'll find a link to our store where you can get something like this sweatshirt I'm wearing today and other gear from Figured Out Baseball. Just thought I'd put that in there in case you haven't checked that out before. You can also check out Christina's website. I want to say this real quick. It's westonsportsnutrition.com. WESTON sportsnutrition.com, where you can find out more about Christina. You can get in touch with Christina. She can help you personally, if you, as a team or as an individual, if you have questions or just anything on the nutrition side, Christina can help you out. So I wanted to put a plug in for that as well. I want to come back to the caffeine part. Maybe I have a dual question there, but I do want to ask you first about the effect on performance. Baseball is a pretty long game. Major league games are longer for whatever reason, commercials, I've guessed, but major league games are longer than college games or minor league games. College and minor league games tend to be maybe 2.5 hours on average, maybe even a little bit less than that. You can finish a game sometimes in 2 hours if it's a 3-0 game or something like that. What performance effects, if any, should players be wary of when drinking these energy drinks? And is that a part of your reasoning for wanting to keep them out of the dugout as well? Like maybe it gives you a boost at first, and by an hour or 2 hours later, it starts to negatively affect performance. Is that a part of it, Christina?
Not necessarily. I think more so it specifically for baseball is the fact that we have game after game after game, day after day after day. And so most of the time you're going to be playing games later on in the evening. And so depending on the time of the caffeine intake, it could disrupt recovery, could disrupt their sleep. And that happening day after day can really have wreak havoc essentially in their recovery, their performance long term. So I want to make sure that it's coming from an NSF certified, for sports safe supplement or source, and then that we're timing it appropriately for their body weight and what they're actually trying to hopefully get out of it, if that makes sense.
So you said that caffeine is a supplement that has been proven to help performance. So when it comes to conversations between your players now with the Red Sox and when you were at other colleges, is that something you encourage or just something that you say, if that's your thing, it's okay to do? Curious about how you have that conversation with players when it comes to caffeine.
So I would just I try not to guide. I hold the standard that there's going to be no non-NSF certified energy drinks in my dugout, otherwise I'll pour them out. But what I do instead is I offer up products that are NSF certified. There are some energy drinks that are third-party tested and safe for athletes to take. And so I incorporate those into their fueling plan. So no matter what time their game is, if we've shown that caffeine really helps this person's focus, they have better batting averages every single time that they properly time their caffeine, we incorporate it into them. But we find the one that they like the most and is going to be safe for them to take as a professional athlete, and we incorporate that. So some of the safe ones to take are going to be Gatorade Fast Twitch, Red Bull, ZOA, I think The Rock's new energy drink is now NSF certified, and then C4 Energy. Those are your energy drinks that are NSF certified safe. They went through the right way for their manufacturing plant and their labeling to make sure that can actually help athletes and do what it was intended to do.
Okay. I was going to ask you what you allow, but that you just answered
Yeah.
part for me. What about properly timed caffeine? What have you found? Is it different from person to person? But what do you typically find is the right time relative to the game for players to have some caffeine? Or is it something like they kind of like sip on throughout the game?
Yeah, it depends on like if it's we're talking about like a closer for pitching versus, a
Talk
starting
about like
position player.
let's talk about a position player who's going to have to play 9 innings, and let's start there.
Yeah, we usually incorporate it post BP. So post BP is usually where they're going to be refueling with additional snack, possibly like a mini meal, and then also getting 200 milligrams of caffeine is a pretty good general prescription or so to say for caffeine and athletes and timing. About 45 minutes to an hour consuming about 200 milligrams before. You don't want to be pushing to where you're having that caffeine later on in the game, possibly like at like a sixth inning. I would look into more simple carbohydrates at that point. If you're feeling fatigued, it's more of the masking agent wearing off at that point. And so I would look at just spiking insulin levels at that point in the game versus supplementing with increased caffeine. It's not necessarily going to be as beneficial at that stage in the game.
What about, like you said, a closer who's just going to come into the end of the game, but you've also kind of said about just how caffeine later in a game, particularly a night game, could affect recovery. Are you still
Yep.
okay with someone who's going to come into the ninth inning? And you said that if they need to consume this caffeine maybe 45 minutes to an hour before
Yep.
performance, so that might mean in the fourth or fifth inning, something like that, a closer
Mhm.
might be might get his dose of caffeine. Is that okay for you, or that timing of it? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would work with that athlete specifically and what seems to work out best for them. Everybody is going to be a little bit different in that aspect. Most of the time, if they're a closer, they're going to know that they're a closer and they're going to be a closer every single time. They're going to be on a pretty regulated schedule, much closer to a starting pitcher than any of the bullpen pitchers. I would honestly say the hardest scenario is the bullpen pitchers because they never know when they're going pretty much any time. But I would probably just work with them and looking at what their schedule looks like and making sure that they're still maximizing the amount of sleep that they're getting from when they're having that caffeine intake. So they might be just an individual that stays up later post game, but isn't showing up to the clubhouse until a little bit later on as well. So those would be things we would just be looking at and just managing at an individual level.
Christina, just to wrap this up, let me ask you: is there anything that I didn't ask that you think is important to say when it comes to these energy drinks that that college and even high school athletes are drinking before games? Anything I didn't ask that you think is important to say?
That energy drink or like a large iced coffee is not a meal, is not a snack. It really needs to be seen as supplemental, as a supplement, and getting balanced meals and getting carbohydrates is really where your energy is going to be coming from. And so if you feel like you're lacking in energy and your first thought is to go and grab an energy drink out of the fridge or stop at the gas station to grab an energy drink, hoping that's going to fix not eating enough, not getting enough sleep, not recovering well enough, like it's not going to fix the problem. And I think you just need to do some self-reflecting into what the actual issue could be, and utilize those energy drinks a little bit more supplementally.
That was great. I was going to ask you, I see on your website there are some places where you're holding up a sign that says one thing or another. So I was going to ask you what your sign would be for this topic, but was that it? That an energy drink?
Oh, my old whiteboard miss.
Yeah.
It'd probably be like caffeine or like an energy drink isn't the answer. Carbs are.
Okay.
Big proponent of carbohydrates. Let's go.
I like that. So in another podcast that we have, we'll have to talk about snacks in the dugout. But
Yes.
I think you shot a video on that, but we'll have to do a podcast
Mhm.
on it sometime as well. But this is Christina Weston, everybody. She is with the Boston Red Sox as the nutrition coordinator. She coordinates nutrition for their entire minor league system, guys on the 40-man roster. She kind of does it all for them. So has been really great information today on energy drinks. Christina, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Jeff.